is the recording of this webinar will also be available immediately after the event on the YouTube channel. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to keep in touch with us. We host a lot of webinars, we do cool podcasts, etc., etc. So we're all about sharing really good knowledge that our attendees can put to work right away. Obviously, if you need help with what we're discussing here in this webinar, you're welcome to reach out. This is what we do for a living. So in today's webinar, we're going to talk about agentic AI for SEO. We're going to show you the playbook for how to rank in the age of AI overviews. Now they're going to be called AI mode. And then we're going to talk about GEO, which stands for Generative Engine Optimization. Again, if you have questions, please plug them into the chat on the YouTube stream here. I'm going to be monitoring the chat here. So I hope you don't mind if I look over my shoulder once in a while here. All right. Let's do this. So my name is Chris Raulf. I'm the founder of BSM, originally from Switzerland, moved to Boulder, Colorado back in 96. I've been doing SEO before Google was called Google. Back then, they were called Backrub. So sort of like a passion or something turned into a hobby and then a job. So now we run a agency, about 20 people here in Boulder, Colorado. Because of my international background, I speak globally about AI and SEO and GEO. I'm definitely a nerd when it comes to that. And then also I'm a brand ambassador for SE Ranking, a favorite SEO tool. So that being said, if you do a search for international AI and SEO expert, you should see my information right there prominently at the top in the AI overview. As you can see there on the right side, mentioned, as an expert in AI and SEO. And then also you'll find my personal website as the number one listing. So you're definitely listening to somebody that has some kind of experience in what we're discussing here today. Also, AI overviews are now changing to AI mode, as you can see there, that yellow arrow. As you can see, this is what's going to happen over the next, I would say, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months, where Google is changing AI overviews to the AI mode display. As you can see right there, Daniel is at the very top. This is the link to the webinar that we're hosting here today. And then I'm also listed as a credible source on the right side there. So this is sort of what we're going to discuss today. Google is going to keep more and more traffic on their website in their AI overviews and modes. So that being said, Daniel, who are you?
Yeah, quick introduction. So I'm originally from Brazil. Before moving to Boulder and joining forces with Chris, I used to run and own a website design agency for about 20 years back in Los Angeles. And so a lot of what I bring to the table is, the website side of things, the usability, the functionality. A big part of what I do as well is also making sure processes, the dynamic between Chris and myself is Chris is the visionary of the company. He's out there speaking, looking into the future, understanding what's working, what do we need to do. And my job is to get those ideas and integrate them into processes that really work inside the agency. So hopefully I will be able to show you a little bit of that later today and kind of, bring some of these great ideas into how do you actually implement them. So looking forward to it.
Awesome. And then I just checked the chat there. We got people from all over the world, Africa, Panama, etc., etc. You're from Brazil, I'm from Switzerland originally, so this is very fitting, right? This is a very international crowd and topic that we're discussing here today. So, hey Daniel, we're making a transition, right? We are no longer an SEO agency. We are now a content marketing agency that happens to be really good at search engine optimization. And we heavily use AI to achieve incredible results. Daniel, you're going to show our audience today the AI agent or the AI tool that we developed to automate many, many, many of the manual things that we used to do like 6, 7 months ago. So definitely stay tuned toward the end of this session. Daniel will walk you through our process and show you, I believe, our AI tool. So that being said, after we got hit by a core algorithm update 4 years ago, we lost 80% of our organic search traffic, had to go back to the drawing board, and I developed a SEO methodology called Micro SEO Strategies. You can simply do a Google search for Micro SEO. You'll find a guide that I wrote about this methodology. It's a super hyper-focused SEO and content marketing methodology that now uses cutting-edge AI technology to outrank the largest websites in the world. I do not kid you. For some of our clients, we're outranking Wikipedia. So this is what this webinar is about, right? We're going to show you how to do this stuff the right way and how to achieve incredible results. If you want to see a example of what is doable, just do a quick search for SEO price guide. Again, it's a guide that we wrote using our methodology. We're outranking some of the largest agencies in the world. So even if you're a small player, even a one-person show, you can take the knowledge that we're sharing here today and really achieve incredible things. All right. So a lot of things that we're gonna discuss here today, not necessarily in the sequence, but I trust you can read. So here are a few things that we're gonna talk about. Hopefully, we'll have a little bit of time toward the end of the session for Q&A. And usually we go a little bit over, so we're gonna stay here for Q&A if we have a lot of questions. All right. It's going to be a fast-paced presentation. Last week, I spoke at DigiMarcon in Philadelphia about this topic, and I had a lot more time, 2 sessions. Barely was able to touch the tip of the iceberg. So it's going to be fast-paced presentation. You can always watch it again, or we developed a half-day online course it's on demand. We're going to share the information later. So if you want to learn more, I recommend you take that half-day workshop. All right. So this is what we're going to discuss in today's webinar. We want to know, what kind of keywords do we want to rank for at the top in Google? What keywords are our target audiences typing into Google? For example, we know for a fact there's a lot of people searching for pricing information for SEO. So we developed the SEO price guide that you see there ranked at the very top in Google. And guess what? We optimized it in such a way that it also shows up as a trusted resource in these AI overviews. So this is exactly what we're going to talk about here in this webinar. This is probably the most important thing that you can do in SEO right now. All right. You need tools for this process. It's really hard to not use tools and see the results that we're showcasing here in this webinar. So a tool that we highly recommend, it's basically one of the only tools, SEO tools that we use here at Bold SEO Marketing, a tool called SE Ranking. I'm going to share the link to a month-long free trial. We don't make money off that tool. I'm a brand ambassador for this tool. They give us free access, so we like to plug them as well. As you can see right there in their interface, they're now showing you if you are showing up in the AI overviews or AI mode for your keywords, or if your content is showing up in AI search. So if you want to be really serious about this, you got to use a tool such as SE Ranking. Right there is the link where you can sign up for a month-long free trial, or simply whip out your pocket computer called smartphone and scan this code there. Again, month-long free trial for this tool. We use it all day, every day. All right. I'm not sure if some of you watched Google I/O, the yearly developer conference where Google announces new developments, what's going on with search, with what they're putting out there. Sundar Pichai, Alphabet's chairman and Google's CEO, noted that no product embodies our mission more than Google search. Okay, why? Well, they're making 95% of their billions of dollars of revenue and profit every month with Google search, right? It's the biggest money maker. So they need to figure out how can they make money with this new AI interface, AI overviews. We don't see a lot of ads yet, but believe me, they will come because people are getting more and more used to these AI overviews and interacting with this AI generated content at the top of the Google search engine results pages. All right. So the rise of AI-powered search, Gen AI search. More and more and more people are using Gen AI tools such as ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, etc. Google is transitioning that into their primary search interface. So we're all going to interact with AI generated content at the top in Google more and more and more and more over time, right? A lot of these search engines, such as Google, Bing, etc., they have integrated AI into the interface at this point. And they will continue to expand this AI stuff, which is going to be part of the regular search engine results pages that we're currently used to. All right, let's take a quick look at the evolution of AI here. Generative AI, the first tool that most of us interacted with was ChatGPT, basically an autocomplete on steroids. If you think back to November of 2022, it's the first tool that actually did a good job generating content based on simple prompts. Okay. A lot has happened since then. Daniel, we developed our BSM CoPilot, our AI agent, our AI tool that uses Gen AI technology. Probably like, when did we start? Like 9 months ago? Or do you remember when we started to
Yeah,
implement?
yeah. I think we started thinking about it a year ago and started implementing it probably 9 months ago.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if somebody like us can create their own AI agent, anybody can do it, right? We're not developers, we're SEO people. So this is where we're at. And by the way, if you don't yet incorporate AI as part of your everyday routine in whatever you do, you're already behind. So this is sort of what this webinar is all about as well. Then Agentic AI. Let me move my little thing down here. Agentic AI. It's sort of where we are now, where these AI agents, they can start to think independently. It's sort of scary, but also exciting, where we're now creating sort of like AI tools that are nearly as smart as real people. One example that I'm going to show is a AI agent, agentic tool called Runner H. This is where we're at, right? Now we have these tools. You're looking at a tool called Runner H that I recently discovered. You can automate everything, anything, right? This tool connects to your Gmail, connects to whatever platform you're using. So you could basically tell it, hey, I want you to book me a trip to Paris. And then I'm a vegan, so I want you to book me, restaurants that offer a vegan diet. And then, here are some things that I'm interested in seeing, the Eiffel Tower, the catacombs, etc., etc. So this tool, if you give it access to your money, to your credit card and everything, will go out there and basically do all the legwork for you. This is where we're at now. So, Daniel, that being said, you and I spoke also in Houston at Digimarcon, and the last presentation was all about the new internet, right? Where in the not so distant future, Daniel, what is going to happen and how do we need to prepare for that?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I mean, that was a really eye-opener, these presentations that did mark on. But today we're essentially, well, not today, yesterday we were optimizing websites for users, right? So we were doing the optimization so users could find us and they could do what they needed to do. What we're doing today is we're essentially optimizing websites for users because we still want users to be able to find them, but we're in the process of really optimizing them for agents, right? We want to make sure that if someone asks Alexa, what's the best restaurant near me? Or they ask ChatGPT or AI overview. Those are the things that we're now integrating and talking about in this presentation that we're optimizing websites for agents and for users. But the future, like what Chris was just showing with Runner, is that agents are going to be the ones that are going to be doing the searches for us, not users, right? So the real future of where this is going is that agents will be communicating with agents, right? There's going to be very little user interaction directly with websites because, like Chris said, I'm going to go into Runner. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to go to this place, book me, a 3-day hotel on the best hotel, do this, do that, do this. This agent will interact with other agents, get all of that done and so forth. So the future is that we need to understand what that landscape and what that ecosystem is going to look like and start thinking about how we need to start shifting our understanding that it's not really about the website and it's not really about optimizing this presence, but it's how do we optimize our agents on our side to interact with agents on the other side so we then are present in this agent to agent communication that's coming in the near future.
And then, so the comment from the AI powered mom, I love that name. So, yeah, I think right now a lot of these agents are still clunky, but man, I'm seeing a lot more high performing, well working agents pop up. So, I mean, this is what's going to happen, right? There's going to be an AI agent for everything in the not so distant future. This is how we're gonna use the web to do things, right? So we're gonna ask agents to do things for us. As Daniel said, you got to be ready for this. You got to update your website. We're going to share more information on how to do that.
Yeah, and then just really quickly on that note as well, that's why I think the dynamic of, not only in an agency like ours, but in any business, it's really important to have the visionary integrator kind of dynamic, right? Because somebody like Chris, like the visionary, his job is to go out there and not only see what's working today, because what's working today in a couple weeks from now is going to be outdated. So and this is what the biggest takeaway from, the presentation today is we're going to show you what's working today, but we're going to show you what's really around the corner and things that we need to start preparing for today that are not actually happening today, but they will happen and they're going to happen fast. So,
Uh, and I can overemphasize what I'm discussing here on this slide too much. Last week, again, I was in Philly at a conference. A lot of agencies and also a lot of businesses are way behind right now. Like this chameleon here, you need to be able to adapt. If you're an agency, as you see here on the left side, if you're still freaking out about keywords and backlinks, you're behind. If you have not yet developed your own AI agent tool or something off the shelf, you are behind. This is what potential customers or clients that we talk to they're asking for it. If you don't have that, you will be out of business probably sooner than later. At the same
Chris,
time, yeah.
let me make a quick comment as well. Just on that note, we were having a really good conversation with a CEO the other day, and he made a comment that I thought was really interesting. And he said that a lot of agencies, and they work with agencies, he said a lot of agencies are very afraid that they're going to, be replaced by AI. And the reality is not that. The agencies are going to be replaced by other agencies that really embrace and know how to integrate AI into their processes. And that's not just true for agencies, that's true for all businesses, right? If a lot of businesses will be replaced, yes, but not by AI, by other businesses that really know how to integrate AI and make their processes a lot more efficient. So I thought that was really good insight.
Absolutely, absolutely. At the same time, if you're a business, you need to get your website, your digital assets ready for this new agentic era that we are already in. All right. So AI is changing how we search. We're using a lot more long tail keywords. We're talking into our pocket computers, right? So this is completely changing. So we're going away from, just freaking out about keywords to semantic search. Voice search, massively important, right? Your content needs to make it into, these voice search results if we use devices like Alexa, Google, etc. Then think about the younger generation. So we have 5 kids. They use social media for their search needs, right? So things are diversifying rapidly. So we're going to talk about that more in just a second here. Um, so AI is evolving so rapidly, the algorithms can barely keep up. Google was caught off guard when ChatGPT launched in November of 2022. They were not ready for that flood of AI generated content to hit the internet. Google doesn't want to spend money indexing low quality content, spun content in their server farms. So they had to update their algorithm really fast. They still struggle with it. We're just at the very beginning, right? There's going to be more and more content that's nearly indistinguishable to identify was it created by an AI or a human. So this will continue to be a challenge, not just for Google, but for any of these AI gen tools. GPT, Perplexity, Claude, etc. Um, so Google still dominates this market, according to the study here that I found. They're killing it, against tools like ChatGPT, 380 times more search queries processed than ChatGPT. Google for the first time in a very long time fell below 90% market share. They're just at 89% now. I believe it's going to go up. I think they're actually going to gain a lot of market share because they're doing a really good job with integrating AI into their main search platform. So we'll see what happens, but this is sort of what I predict will happen here. Just a few fun facts. Search is increasing as these tools get more user-friendly. We're gonna use them more, right? So search is actually increasing dramatically, which in return is gonna make Google more money. It allows them to search more ads, right? AI overviews actually increase usage. They don't decrease it. We do have follow-up questions, etc. And then next slide, want to talk about the increased search volume overall does not increase website traffic to your website. And we'll talk about that in just a second. So there's now a thing called zero click, where basically because of Google showing these AI overviews and AI mode content, then they keep more and more traffic on their website. So I took a look at our own website. So what you see here on the very right-hand side, um, This is 3 months over 3 months data. So the last 3 months versus the same 3 months last year. So overall impressions, our website, our content being shown in Google, 2.6 million, right? A year ago, uh, just about a million. If you take a look at the clicks, so we got a click boost of about 16%. That is only 10% of the compared to the increase of nearly 170% of impressions. That's in no correlation, right? Why? Because our website shows up quite a bit in these AI overviews. We do a lot of educational content. So clicks are going down, impressions are going up, and we're right in the middle of this development, and we'll see what the future holds if Google is going to give back more of those clicks to us. All right. So what does that mean? If you ever played the chair game, there's going to be a lot less chairs for a lot more people. You're gonna have to play that game and you're gonna have to get a chair by developing content that actually has a chance to rank not only at the top in Google, but also get into these AI overviews. This is what we're showing you here today. This is what we're talking about. Daniel, do you want to quickly talk about the probably two of the most important things that anybody on this webinar can do, like, or needs to think about as of right now?
Sure, sure. So, as Google starts changing how they're looking at and deciding who they're going to rank because of the intense amount of content in there, they're really prioritizing really expert content, right? And there's the side of the website, which is really the domain authority of the website, like, and then the owner or the people that are involved with the website, what is their EEAT score? Expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And what Google's trying to do is Google's really trying to say, all right, we want to put on the top of the search engines content that truly is created by and is the best piece of content out there with high EEAT. So a couple of really important things to do, like one of the first things that we do when we audit a new website that we're starting to work on, right? Let's say that we were working with a customer that has a lot of EEAT. He's been doing this for a long time. He's a really expert on it and so forth. But when we go to the blog post, for example, we see these great blog posts that are written, but there's no author, right? So Google doesn't really know who wrote these pieces of content. A really easy hack, well, not a hack, but a really important thing to do is make sure that when you have blog posts, especially good quality blog posts that you spent some time putting together, make sure that you have a author below it saying this was written by Joe. And then when you click on Joe, that it goes to a profile page on the website that really goes into detail and depth about Joe's level of expertise and what he brings to the table in terms of leveraging his EEAT. So there's ways that we can, number one, make sure that we're leveraging and communicating to Google the EEAT and the experience and the trustworthiness that not only the brand but the people involved with the brand bring to the table. But then the second thing is, in addition to leveraging it and communicating it to Google, is what are the steps that we need to take to then increase that EEAT and to make that person and to make that brand even more of an expert in the industry. And those mean doing things like Chris is doing today, teaching other people how to do these things, doing press releases. There's a variety of other things. So those building the domain authority and the EEAT of the people surrounding it and then really leveraging it and communicating it to Google are probably some of the most important things that we need to focus on.
Absolutely. This is how you can check your domain authority of your website or domain trust. Again, SE ranking is a great tool to check that. 22 out of 100 is actually not bad. I'm very proud of that number. And then you can also check, see if what I recommend is like claim your knowledge panel. That sends very positive signals to Google. So just Google your name and then see if you have the three dots next to your name. Click on that and then claim this knowledge panel. That's a very easy way to educate Google about you. And then, make sure have a bio on your website so that Google clearly understands who you are, the person that publishes the content. All right. So Daniel, I think we can probably quickly go through these slides here, but just very briefly a recap of, Google's content quality principles. What is really important? Very briefly here.
Yeah, so it's essentially, it's good quality content that it's new content that teaches something, that solves a problem, that's created by a human that really has true experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, right? And so essentially, in a nutshell, what they're trying to do is you can't really hack the system like you could in the golden days where you could buy links and do this and do that. Google really wants to rank great content that's created by people that are true experts in the industry. In a nutshell, that's what we need to be able to make.
Awesome. And then let's quickly talk about the who, how, and why.
Yeah, for sure. So, three of the things that are really important when you create a piece of content is, who this piece of content is created by. Again, it was created by this person that has a lot of experience. Who is it written for? Very important, right? It's important that we have a user persona and that we're helping them achieve or solve a specific issue. How the piece of content was created, right? Was this just, generated by ChatGPT from a simple prompt? They're going to know that it's not quality content, right? Was this really in-depth research? Does this bring a lot of different things into the place? And then the most important question is why? Why does this piece of content exist? Is this just another blog post that was created to, add new content to the website? Or does this piece actually help the visitors to the website solve an issue, answer a question? So these three things are three of the important pillars that you need to have really good answers to make sure that this piece of content has a fighting chance of being picked up by Google to rank on page one of Google.
Awesome. And then, so is AI generated content completely not doable? Absolutely not. Google recently updated their stance on AI generated content. So I recommend you read that piece of content there on Google's website. You will get access to the slides here that we are presenting, so you don't have to take notes or take pictures here. So this webinar that you are attending right now, the landing page for this webinar, the content was actually entirely written by AI. We used the transcript of the previous webinars and AI tools to come up with a new description for this webinar. And then we used, prompting to fine tune the information. So this thing was 100% generated by AI based on source content that we created. Like we're doing now, we're transcribing this webinar. This is source content, right? That you can then utilize to create and fine tune content. All right, real quick. So the new SEO is called CMP, CCAOD, or GEO. So it basically stands for, or what you have to do is contextual multi-platform content creation, optimization, and distribution. Why? Because now there's so many tools like GPT, Claude, Perplexity, etc that have competitors such as YouTube. LinkedIn is also a search engine, Reddit, Quora, TikTok, what not, right? So if you want to get your content in front of the right person, you got to be in multiple places. This is also where these tools go to find information related to what people are searching for. All right. So traditional SEO just focuses on getting into the blue links. GEO, Generative Engine Optimization, really refers to the practice of optimizing a lot of content in the brand's overall digital presence to increase the likelihood that it will be found found, discovered, understood, processed, trusted. That's the EEAT factor, right? Only then do you have a chance to get featured in, AI overviews, AI mode, or in tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, etc. All right. So the core principles of GEO. Daniel, very briefly, do you want to take this slide before we do the screen share and we show the tool and that process?
Yeah, sure. So it's, step number one, make sure that you have well presented authoritative content, right? That you're not fluffing it up, that you're getting to the point, that you're talking about the stuff. The second, again, we keep going back to EEAT, it's really demonstrating the EEAT clearly. Why is it that, the information that you're putting out there is clean and it's clear and it shows experience and expertise? Number three, optimizing for conversational search. Again, this is very much talking about long tail keywords, right? How do these new searches that happen as conversations, which are very different than keyword searches, play into making sure that your content is in context with these new searches? And again, making sure that the technical side of things is very well optimized. One of the important things in there that we always pay a lot of attention to is schema. Schema markup more than ever is important to make sure that it's clean, especially now that AI is actually starting to look at schema to help it understand what the page is all about. And for you guys that don't know what schema is a little piece of content, it's a piece of code that goes on the back of the website that helps us educate Google on different aspects of what that page is all about. So we can put frequently asked questions schema in there and so forth. And now there's schemas specifically made, and targeted towards better educating AI of what the page is all about and what they can take from it.
Awesome. All right, this is what our micro SEO strategies process or some of the steps look like, right? So with keyword research, understanding what people are typing into Google. Then we, did a content outline creation. It was a very manual process. We did a manual AI overview analysis. We looked at the top ranking pages. We did the wireframing, content outlining creation, etc., etc. I'm not going to rattle all of this stuff. So I woke up in the middle of the night about 9 months ago and I thought about this and like, oh my God, what are we doing? There's now tools, Gen AI tools that we can use to automate most or many of these steps. So that being said, I thought about that. I spent 6 days prompt engineering. I took that to Daniel and I said, hey, build me a tool that automates most of this stuff. So that being said, Daniel, over to you. What did you do after I asked you to
Yeah, for
create?
sure. So let me kind of share my screen here and bring that up and kind of show you what we are doing. So essentially, can you see my screen with the
Yeah,
BSM CoPilot?
yeah.
So essentially, Chris said, this is what we need to do, and this is where Chris invented the micro SEO strategy approach. How do we create the best piece of content available on the web? Right. And the way to do that is, let me actually show this here real quick. So what we do here is this, right? We invented now BSM CoPilot, and I'll show you what BSM CoPilot in a second is, but BSM CoPilot is essentially an internal tool that allows us to leverage all of these different things that we do to pretty much optimize and speed up the process of creating essentially this ultimate outline with instructions for a writer that when the writer creates this piece of content has a really, really good chance of becoming the ultimate resource of information, the best piece of content out there, right? But in the beginning, we actually used to do this manually. So we had this long Excel or long Google Doc sheet with prompts, and we would copy and paste and copy and paste. And we were using like a generic like LLM, either like Gemini or ChatGPT. And since we started this 9 months ago, a lot has changed and a lot has evolved. And we've gotten to a point now today, which is what I'm going to show you, which is really, really exciting, where we are actually getting to a place where this AI assisted process now is working tremendously well. So that's what I'm going to walk you through real quick. Um, there's the input side of things when we start the process, right? So when we start the process, it's really important that we take the time to make the right decisions to feed the system with the correct information, because only with great information can the AI really help us create a great output. So some of the things that we're going to put in there is obviously manually. And what, by the way, what you see here in yellow is stuff that we humans manually do. And anything that you see in a white box is stuff that is generated by AI, right? Or it's AI assisted. So very quickly, we do a keyword research. It's really important that we still select the keywords by hand, right? Because the long tail, the short tail, it's really understanding the user personas. We haven't found a good AI system that does that very well. So we're still doing that by hand. Will that change in the future? Sure, right? But not yet. MicroStrategy summary doc. It's like that is the set of instructions on what are we trying to create here? What is the piece of content? What's it all about? What are the call to actions? What do we want this to do? What do we want users to do? What are the pain points that we're trying to address? We have a brand guide that goes in there. What's the voice of the client? What is the, communication? What is the tone? All of these things. And then the other thing that we really put in here is source content. Source content takes a different variety of forms. It could be either the existing piece of content that we're reworking. It could be an interview with the client talking about this new page that we use as a transcript. It could be webinars or sales calls. It could be a bunch of stuff, but feeding the source content into the process, so important, right? Because because the source content is one of the big differentiators between creating an AI process that works versus one that doesn't work, right? Because when you don't have source content as part of this process, essentially it's like going to ChatGPT and say, ChatGPT, please create me a blog post on XYZ. And it's going to go out there and it's going to, kind of learn from everything that's out there already and then reslice it, repurposed, and it's not going to be net new content. So what we're always trying to do in terms of a lot of these different steps is how do we make sure that AI is not only leveraging what's out there, but leveraging heavily source new content. That is a very important thing to keep in mind when we're using AI to help generate not only the outline, but the content, because then that's going to be net new content that's unique to that client, that brings something new to the table. And then this is where we use AI, and this is something that we used to do manually before, right? If we want to rank for a specific keyword, we go and we do that keyword research on Google and who is showing up on AI overview today? What is the piece of information that Google's showing as an AI overview? Because that's what Google deems, the most important responses. And what sites are they picking up that information from? We gather all of that information. We do the same for SERP analysis. So what are the top 10 websites that are currently ranking on the first page of Google for that keyword? Really important information, right? Because that's who Google deems extremely important and the true experts in the industry. So we gather all of that information. And then what we're doing right now as well is ChatGPT, Gemini. Now they have a deep research tool in there. If you guys haven't used it, you have to use it. It's brilliant. And what you do is you put the topic of what you're writing in there and you do a deep research, and they go in there and they create this big, long document with amazing, very focused research that you give it specific instructions on what you want it and how you want it and what you're going to use it for. Again, this is great information that we can feed in there. Now, with all of this information in here, now we're going to feed it into BSM CoPilot. And what BSM CoPilot is going to do is it's going to, through a sequence of prompts, which I'll show you in a second, create an outline for a piece of content. And it's going to take in consideration who is ranking there, who's ranking well for that piece today. It's going to take in consideration what is AI overview looking for today. It's going to take in consideration all of the stuff that we want it to rank for. And it's going to create this content outline that if we give this content outline to a human writer who's a real expert in the industry to say, create a piece of content, but make sure that you use this outline as a roadmap. And if you talk about all these things, and if you include these things, and if you mention these things and link to and from these things, this piece of content has a really, really good chance to become the best piece of information because we know it's going to be better than any of the other ones that are ranking there today. That's why this is such an important part of the, you know, um, of the process. And then the last thing here is once this piece of content is created and we love it and we think it's going to rank really well, we post it on the website. What happens afterwards, which is the distribution part of that, long acronym that Chris was showing, really important part. So now that we have a really great source piece of net new content, which is what we call our pillar page or this new piece of content that we can use AI to then go in there and use the source content as foundation for slicing, dicing, and repurposing that content for a variety of distribution channels, right? In this case here, LinkedIn or Quora, or creating a press release, or Medium, or we can do a newsletter, podcast, Facebook, Instagram, email blast. I mean, we can then automate AI in here to create all of these amazing different assets, right? This is a great usage of AI because now we're essentially, throwing gasoline into the engine to be able to really go out there and promote this content in a lot of different places with content that's generated by AI, following very specific prompts that we know that they're going to work. So, in a nutshell, that's what, Copilot's all about. Um, Let me quickly show you now. This is what the Copilot process works, and I'll walk you through real quick. But there's three things that are truly unique about our process that we think make it work extremely well. Number one is the ability to input all of that information in the beginning, which this co-pilot is going to use as a foundation to say, if we're going to create a piece of content that's better than anything else that's out there, we need to make sure that we do that research and we feed it in there. The second thing that makes this really unique is that once we create an initial outline, we're not just going to run with the outline. We're actually going to have an interview with our client, and we're going to record that interview of the client giving feedback on the outline saying, yes, well, regarding this topic, this is how we do it. This is our experience. And yes, we have a case study about this and that. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. And we feed that transcript of that feedback, and we actually optimize and make that outline a little bit more robust. That is probably the second thing. The third thing, one thing that we've been leveraging a lot is it's important to have really good human writers. And I'll talk about that because we're experimenting a little bit with AI generated content as well, and AI generated content with human oversight and editing versus just, having a human. But a human is a very, very important part of this process. If they're just going to be writing the piece of content, or if it's going to be content that's generated by AI, but then they need to go in there and edit it, clean it up, make sure that it's AI interaction is very important. But the last piece, one thing that's been a true game changer is what we call the custom client agent. So the large language model that we used to use is again what everyone else has access to, which is your GPT or Claude or Gemini. And and they're great, right? But they don't know who you are, what the client is all about, the voice of the client. It's a generic. So what we do for all of our clients now is we create a custom client agent. In this case, I'm going to use Virtual Chris, which is the one that we use internally for BSM, right? And I'll show you what this is. So there's different options and there's different platforms that you can use them. We essentially use OpenAI assistants. So just so you can have an idea, this is our virtual Chris. I have very specific instructions on what I want the LLM to be and to how to communicate and so forth. But the most important part is this. It allows us to upload all kinds of information, right? That is going to teach this language model really what we are all about and what Chris is all about. So there's call recordings, there's webinars, there's sales calls, there's all kinds of branding guides in here. So there's all kinds of things. So anything that this specific custom agent creates is going to be 100% focused on the experience and on the vision and on so they truly understand who Chris is and what BSM is all about. So we're not going to be getting generic responses. We're going to be getting responses that are very, very much catered, through the lenses of who BSM are. One of the things that we use this a lot for now is, you know, Chris is unfortunately only has 24 hours in his day, right? And a lot of different people in the company need to have feedback from Chris on specific things. So, for example, there's questions about, places where he needs to be quoted and so forth. A lot of these questions, our team can put in the question in here and say, how would Chris answer this? And the responses come back. And sometimes these responses are not only what Chris would say exactly, but even more eloquently at times. So these responses go back to Chris and he says, exactly, that is exact. So it allows us to really create a digital version of Chris, right? And having that here as the language model that is feeding and communicating and going through this process in comparison to having a generic makes a world of difference, right? So that is the first thing. So if you go, for example, on our Copilot, this is what our Copilot interface looks like, right? And here, for example, I would select Virtual Chris 2.0, which means that now our Copilot is connected with our specific custom agent. And then I would start a process, right? And just so you can get an idea of what the prompting looks like, I'll show you the one that I'm working on now. This is our new updated one for creating MicroStrategies. So it's a set of instructions that we put in there. So for example, the first one, instructions on what are we doing here today? All right. So we're an AI assistant and our job here is to create a, piece of content, so forth. And you'll see that these are static prompts, but they feed on what we call tokens that are going to be short codes, sorry, that are going to be pulling information that are specific about that client, which again is what we fed in that summary sheet in the beginning, right? And it goes through this whole prompting sequence. So let me walk you through real quick and show you how this works essentially. So now I fed all that information, the summary doc, the AI overview, SERP analysis, depending on if this is an existing page or a page that, we're going to be creating new, or if it's a pillar page that we need to create a supporting piece of content for, that existing content goes in here. And then we go through prompts. So first we say introduction, and we tell it to go make sure that you understand that all of these documents in the custom LLM are things that we need to leverage. And third prompt, we say what is the page that what type of page, because this is really important. If it's a service page, or if it's a location page, or if it's an e-commerce page, this whole process changes, right? Because we need to build content for a specific type of page. We're putting in keywords, then we're inputting the SERP analysis and the AI overview, and then we're putting in the existing content. And then we say, all right, now create this awesome outline that we know it's going to be the outline that, if created, we're going to use as a roadmap moving forward. Once this outline's created, the system pauses, because at that point we're instructed to say, let's go and get this initial content. Let's take this to our client, or whoever the owner is, or whoever the writer is, and let's record a video of really going through that outline, giving as much feedback, as much information as possible. And we're going to get that transcript and we pop it back into Copilot, and that is going to then modify it, right? Once we modify and we have a final outline that we really like, then this is where the magic, well, all of this is magical, but this is when the real deliverable happens, is where we create a document for the writer with very specific instructions on what they need to do. So here's an example of one that we've done for a client. So this is the comprehensive writer instructions. So there's a disclaimer, what the project's all about. The executive summary, how did we come about creating, and remember that this is a document that we need to give to a writer that hasn't been part of all of this process, but they need to truly understand the context of why did we create this, how we created it, what they need to know in terms of tools and information to create this piece of content, right? So here's the outline. So the outline is, we're going to have already an optimized meta title, optimized description, and then we have the H1s, the H2s, and we have a pretty good outline. And again, this outline based on this research is going to say, if we create a piece of content following this outline, it's going to be better than anything that's out there. All right. And then the important part here at the end of the outline is the SEO and writer guidance and reminders. What are the keywords that you need to make sure that you include in the word? What's the optimization? Who's the target audience? What's the tone and style? Additional, what's the purpose of this content? Again, target audience. What are the primary and secondary keywords, content goals? Remember, this is all information that we fed the prompting system on number one, how to best build this outline. But now that the content is going to be written, we can't lose that information. This is all information that needs to be given to the writer. What are the call to actions that need to be in there? How do we want you to format this information? Internal and link, focusing on EEAT. Again, very detailed instructions that go to the writer. Now, here's what we're thinking about, right? Because one of the things that we are always focused on is how can we push the limits a little bit and leverage AI to help us create content. And my thinking is if we've gone through this whole process and BSM CoPilot is now created this amazing piece of outline because it's got so much context about what this piece of content needs to be, why not actually have the AI also create the content as well, following exact instructions that we're giving to a writer, right? And we specify it to write it as well. So we've done that, right? And that's one of the things that we're testing right now is we say, writer, here's an outline with a piece of content, go out there and write this thing. And then the other thing that we're testing is we're actually creating this piece of content with the next prompt saying, now you are the writer. Follow all of these instructions from this piece of content, from this outline in instructions, and create a piece of content. And it's creating amazing pieces of content that we are now 100% AI generated. But this is a piece of content that then we're also testing that it's going to go to an AI human editor who's going to read through it, tweak it, make sure that they're comparing notes with the actual instructions to make sure that everything that was generated there follows the instructions and the guidelines from the outline and the instructions. Because what happens is this, if our theories are correct that, the AI here is going to do a really good job at following all of these writer instructions to create a really good piece of content, this is a really good optimization of our process because then what we're doing here is we actually go through the entire process once we fed that information in the beginning. At the end, we have the option to have a really good quality piece of content that we can give to a writer, a human editor at that point, where they can compare and clean it up and modify it, but we're giving them already a really good starting point. So in the past, we've always done the outline and give it to a human writer. Now we're really moving in the direction of testing AI generated content, like the one that Chris talked about, stuff that's really ranking well, generating that piece of content with AI, making sure that a human's looking at it, editing it. And that's some of the great content that is ranking today. And then once that piece of content is created, again, an extra prompt to create a press release, and then an extra prompt to create the social media posts. So that's the beauty of the system is twofold. Number one, we in a very short period of time, because we have this awesome process in place, we're actually able to go through this process very efficiently, create not only a great outline, great writer instructions, but a great final piece of content and all of this collateral material at the end. But we're leveraging a custom agent that is not just a generic language model. It's a language model that is truly a representation of the client, talks like the client, thinks like the client, and it's got human involvement throughout the whole process to make sure that we're not letting AI run on its own, but we're leveraging AI to let AI do what it's really good at. But we're, as humans, managing and monitoring and tweaking the output to make sure that it's exactly what we need it to be. So hopefully that gives you a good understanding of what our BSM Copilot is and how it's been able to really allow us to do more, better work in a short period of time, for all of our clients when it comes to content creation and content distribution. Chris, is there anything that I didn't cover that you think I might want to mention?
No, thank you. And we're actually right at the top of the hour, Daniel. If you want to unshare real quick, I'll put up the closing slides. And then if you guys, some of you have time to stay on for a little bit, we have questions that we can answer. And if you guys need to bolt, you will get the link to the recording, including the slides of this presentation. So ultimately, proof is in the pudding, right? This stuff works, what we're showing here, what we have developed. Right there, we created an ultimate local SEO guide. Same thing. We're in the AI overviews. This guide is performing really well. Also, if you use Perplexity, if you do a search for SEO price guide, we're in the AI generated content right there. So this is what we discussed today. We did host a half-day workshop about 6 months ago, I guess nearly 9 months ago. So if you want to take that on-demand workshop, right there is the link. Use code 250618 for $30 off the $99 that we're charging for this training. I'll put that in the follow-up email. So you have the link right there and the code. With that being said, thank you very much. We're a little bit over. Why don't we take some questions? I'm going to stop share here. So maybe we'll take another 5 minutes of questions. We still have 42 people here online. All right. Let me see. So Nitin, I think you're right. Yeah, I think cost reduction for any industries through AI will be amazing. I agree. Sadly, we were able to let go 3 people after we developed this tool that were doing the work manually. This is the reality that we are living in. Let me see. AI-powered mom. Is there a tool that measures a brand's or company's EAT score for brands? Basically, a company use a tool like SE ranking. I have yet to find a good tool that measures a person's EEAT score. Maybe do some research and let me know if you find a good one. It's basically if you do a search for your name, is your content showing up at the very top in Google? Let me see. Hey guys, Maurizio, 2 questions. So with AI, it's all about a personal brand. And two, what if I do this with the C-suite and then one of them goes to another company? Oof, Daniel, what are your thoughts? So Mauricio is right, right? Content needs to be associated with an author. Right now, we're actually one of our clients. They just sold their business to a new buyer. That's exactly what we're doing, where we now have to build the new owner's EEAT score. Do you want to briefly talk about
Yeah.
the
I'll,
plan?
I'll answer that in kind of two different answers. Answer number one is that, like this client that we working with, she started the business, ran the business for 20 years, became a true leader in the industry and in the market, and then she sold the business. So one of the big challenges that we're working with now is for the new owner. How do we transmit and migrate over some of this EEAT that the owner brought over? Because the big fear that we have is that she's going to be removed from the business. And then the business, because we're now associating a lot of the content with this new person that doesn't have any experience, it's gonna hurt. right? And it's going to take a hit. So how do we slowly migrate and build the EEAT of this new person and try to migrate some of this EEAT? So that is a thing that we're actually doing. And we've created a 6-month kind of migration plan to be able to do that. But the second part of that question is the reality is, yes, the EAT is related to a specific person, right? It's the expertise, experience, authoritativeness, trustworthiness that that person has. So is that become something of value that people have that they take with them? Absolutely. Right. I mean, one of the clients that we're working with now, they're a bigger company and they are actually bringing people into to become authors of blog posts that have their own EEAT. So that is something that absolutely it's the EAT of the people that are involved with the business are going to help increase, the domain authority and the relevance of the website itself. But that is something that can travel with people if they decide to move to, different companies.
Awesome. Then a question from Lone Wolf. I like that name. Where do I get the PDF? So in this video, it's on YouTube. We'll put the link to the slides right below in the description field of the YouTube video or in the follow-up email. Then Fiola, hello from Switzerland. Hey, I'm from Basel, Switzerland. Thanks for the insightful presentation. As agentic AI evolves, what areas would you focus on most in the coming months for SEO and GEO? Basically, what we showed here, right? You got to create content in a way that it has a chance to get into Google, then B, AI overviews, AI mode and then into these other generative engine optimization tools, right? So it's a bit of a process. Nobody said this would be easy, but if it were easy, everybody would be at the very top in Google.
Hmm.
Then get your website ready for agent to agent communication. So site structure, schema, etc., etc. Those were probably the two things that I would focus on most. And then three, critically important, boost the website, your website's domain authority. Sadly, I mean, we could talk about this for much longer. So that's one thing. And then boost the EEAT score of the author associated with the content that's going to be put up on the website. So we still have a lot of people on the live stream. Daniel, why don't we take one more question? Does AI search, Google search prioritize human generated content over AI generated content? Because obviously it can flag the AI content. What's your opinion, Elena? Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to put up AI generated content, do it the way that we showed, right? Feed it on source content with input from the author, like we did with the webinar description for the webinar that you're watching right now. By the way, we're gonna do this webinar again, probably in like 4 months. We're gonna run the script of what we're discussing here through the AI, and we're gonna tell it, hey, update the webinar description of the current webinar. And then here also, look forward thinking information. So that's completely going to be AI generated. That's a way to do it. Don't just put up AI generated content without going through the hoops that we explained here. So yeah, don't just put up AI generated content without doing a lot of effort. Daniel, any parting thoughts on this topic?
No, that's it. I mean, again and again, if we just tell ChatGPT to create a great piece of content, it's AI generated, that is not going to rank. We've tested it and tested it and tested it. What we're pleasantly surprised now is that, yes, this source content fed AI human assisted process that is actually ranking and it's ranking well. So, when we say don't you, it's not about not using AI generated content. It's about using it correctly, or like we demonstrated it today, that when you follow a process like that, AI generated content is working and it's working well. So it's not, it's how you use it that matters. And we've been, seeing some great results through this process that really showcases that.
Awesome. Cool. Looks like a lot of people from Switzerland, which is very exciting. Cool. Thank you so much for your interest in this presentation. If you need help with this, obviously we don't want to make this a sales pitch, but we do this for a living. You're welcome to reach out. I'll gladly take your money in exchange for doing this stuff for you. And then make sure subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're educators first. We love what we do, and we really love working here at BSM and helping our clients. And I speak globally, so if you're ever at a conference where I'm speaking, please say hi. Daniel, yeah, this was a blast. We'll probably do this again in like 3 to 4 months. If you have any feedback, please shoot it over to us. Thank you so much for spending the last 60 minutes or so with us. As always, stay safe and healthy. And until next time. All right. Thanks,
Thank
Daniel.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to shut this stream down, huh? All right. Bye, everybody. Be well.